to wander around a supermarket and find the healthy food and to read labels and so on. So that'll be good. So yeah, and you all know Claire. I think that are the only new ones here this week. So that'll be fun. And yes, if you want to ask a question, just wave and or just put your hand up, and Claire will respond. So that'll be good. Anyway, over to you, Claire.
Thank you. Do we want to wait a couple of minutes until everyone?
Let's have a look. So let's see who's here. We've got 10 people. Oh, here we go. It goes back with his cup of tea. I think we had 12 listed, so we could probably go. It seems to have stabilized. You can see the numbers going up, and then we seem to have. All right.
Sure.
Oh, hang on. Oh, we got another one connecting. So
We're looking at the roof of someone,
Yeah.
ceiling of someone.
and they're connecting to audio. They're not quite there yet, though, so we can wait a second. Yep, that would be good. And it'll be good.
Clear.
And then Dan's come in. Yep. And then okay. That's Richard.
Shall I get started then?
Yeah, I think we'll go. I think we can.
Okay. Well, hi everyone. Nice to see everyone again.
Morning.
So this morning we're going to go through a supermarket virtually, which is very exciting. But before I head into that, a bit of question back to you guys. How did our goals from last week go? Anyone want to share? What did they choose to assign as their goal for the last week? Franco, yeah?
I've used less salt.
Oh, that.
I actually used quite a bit less, and I was encouraged by what you said last week or the week before about the fact that it takes not such a long time for the taste buds to adjust. So I'm it's positive. On the other hand, I have failed. I haven't reduced my intake of alcohol, so I can't really keep it within the recommended. I'm not a big drinker, but I do enjoy a tipple.
Okay, so you feel like you're having more than 10 standard drinks a week?
Yes. I think if a standard drink is virtually half a glass of wine, yeah. So you can only have 2 standard drinks a day.
4 standard drinks a day. So
4.
4 half glass.
But yeah, I can stick to that. But it's if you do the multiplier, if you have 4 every day, that's 40 or 24 every week, and I think that's beyond the ideal allowable quantity.
All right.
That on that score, I don't meet my objective.
Oh, it's something to keep working on. But thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Anyone else like to have a bit of a share on how they went? All right. So, all right. So this week we are going through just a few things before I kind of take you through the supermarket virtually. We're going to do a bit of a label reading exercise. So do you have like a container handy or like a cereal box handy with you?
Container.
Yeah, like if you haven't, I give you maybe just a few seconds. Yes, just to have maybe a container ready. Like a cereal box, a yogurt, or a can, something like this.
A can.
And then, so after we do the label reading, we're going to talk a little bit about tips on how to shop at the supermarket. including online grocery shopping if anyone's doing that. And then we might bring you through the different aisles of the supermarket like I would if I were taking you physically through a supermarket. But it sounds like we all have a container with us, so let's get started. All right, so if we have a question in terms of what supermarket is best and provide healthier products, generally, if we're looking at supermarkets that provide us with the most variety, we're looking at more like major supermarkets such as Coles, Woolworths or Aldi. But nowadays, a lot of more smaller size supermarkets like Harris Farm or your local grocer does often have a good variety of healthy products as well.
Soy sauce.
What does a healthy trolley look like? So maybe have a think, the last time you went to the supermarket in your trolley, what was it filled out with? So something that might be common out of these supermarket trolleys is that there's a variety of those 5 food groups we've talked about. So for example, on the left-hand side, we have a lot of protein from your canned tuna, your canned beans, your cheese, your eggs, fish, tofu, but you also have good range of vegetables such as the mixed salads, your frozen vegetables, your grains such as your breads, etc. And then in the middle, we're talking a combination of ready prepared meals. So if you need some frozen meals, sometimes that might be necessary. Some frozen fruit, some frozen vegetables, and then on the right hand side is another example of what a healthy trolley might look like. Anyone feel like their trolley is actually quite balanced and has a good variety of items when you do your shopping?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so something just to have a think about. Next time you go to the supermarket and have a look at your trolley, what types of food groups you're missing.
Claire,
Yes.
I don't think these trolleys have enough fruit in them.
They don't have enough fruit in them.
Yeah, fresh fruit.
So we have some mixed berries over here, berries. If you count avocado as a fruit, avocado is a fruit.
Tomatoes are fruit.
But that's
Tomatoes are fruit.
Tomatoes can be considered a fruit as well, yes. But that is a good spot that maybe we need a bit more fresh fruit in these trolleys.
I mean, a bag of oranges or apples or some grapes or something, or even carrots. It's missing from these trolleys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So whoever shopped these trolleys could probably do a bit of improvements in that area. Okay, so just quickly recapping back to our 5 food groups. So when we're doing a bit of grocery shopping, we want to look at these 5 food groups. What I'm going to talk about today is a general recommendation. So if you do have a special dietary requirement, such as kidney issues or diabetes or heart issues, the recommendations might be a bit different. So it's good to check back with your GP or the dietitian just to check what type of specific things you need to look out for. But in general, a combination of fruit and vegetables and whole grain is very good for our health. So label reading. So why is this important? Foods that do not require a nutrition information panel. When I mean nutrition information panel, I'm talking about this, maybe I find a better one, or this little table at the back. That's what we call the nutrition information label, the one with all the numbers that says carbohydrates, protein, and all that. Products that do not require it are like your fresh fruit and vegetables, foods that are not packaged, or food that has been packaged and made on site. So for example, at Coles, it's like your bakery items or the butcher. That doesn't require a nutrition information label. It's also very useful because it helps you decide which products is the healthier alternative. And sometimes there's a lot of marketing tactics on the front of the packaging. And the back of the label is the best place to look through it and really see what is in this product. All right, so like I said, this is the nutrition information panel we're interested in the grid. So if you have your product handy, you can have a look what's in your little table at the back or on the side. So for example, if you have a grocery, if you have a cereal box, it might be on the side over here. Or if you have a yogurt tub, it might be on the back over here. Before I kind of go into how you read those specific numbers, there's also an ingredients list that's on these packaged products. And these ingredients list is commonly found on the top or the bottom of the table. So for example, in this canned bean I have, it's a bit blurry, sorry about that. It is underneath the table, it says ingredients. And the ingredients are listed in descending order by weight. So the ingredient that is listed first is in the largest or the heaviest amount, and then it decreases in weight as the list goes on. Some products might provide you with a percentage on the key ingredients. So for example, this 4 beans mix I have here, it says, the first thing I have here, it says legumes, and in brackets, it says 60%. So it tells me there is 60% of legumes in this can. And this ingredients list is also very useful to tell us about any added fats, added sugars, and also added salt in our products. So using this example I have on the slide here, it says whole grain wheat is 97% in this product. And then the second ingredient is raw sugar, so an added sugar, salt, barley malt extract, vitamins and minerals. So you can tell here just by this product that there's some added salt and added sugar just by the ingredients label. Any questions on this so far?
And it goes down, oh, I got that. It goes down in weight, the whole grain wheat first, then the sugar, and then the salt.
Yeah.
And why is the barley in darker letters?
So the letters that is bolded mean it's a potential allergen. So if you have any allergies, it kind of highlights it for you. For example, in this case, it would be gluten. So they've bolded wheat and barley because they contain gluten. So if for someone who has celiac disease or need to go gluten-free, it just gives them a better reference. And that's right, the ingredients go in descending order. So the heaviest first and the lightest last.
Right.
All right. So on this nutrition information label, information panel, there are 2 columns. One column saying per serving and the other column saying per 100 gram. So the serving size is actually determined by the manufacturer or the brand. So it's different depending on the brand or the manufacturer. For example, the serving size for Wheat Bix is a bit different to a serving size of your Just Right, for example. But it's also important to remember that this is not your serving size. So depending on how much you usually have in the morning or your appetite, some people might like 2 Wheat Bix, some people like to have 3 Wheat Bix. So the serving size is not really an indicator of how much you're actually having. But the 100 per 100 gram column is very useful when you're comparing similar products. So if you're comparing different breakfast cereals, comparing cheeses, yogurts, that per 100 gram is always good just to see, you get an opportunity to compare apples to apples, for example. Okay, so for fat, if you look at your nutrition information panel, we want to choose as low as possible in trans fat, but added fat in general. So for example, anyone wants to see whether they have any added fats in their products?
What's added fat?
So added fats could be like your hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oil, or things like lard, palm oil, butter, etc.
Where would you find where it says hydrogenated oil?
It would be the ingredients label in the ingredients list.
Oh, okay.
But if you don't have it, that means your product doesn't have it.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're looking at the per 100-gram column, we want to aim for less than 3 grams per 100 gram. So for example, in this product I have here on my 4 beans mix, I have 1.2 grams per 100 gram under the per 100 gram column.
Ah, yes, I've got the same.
Yeah.
in my specific item.
I have a loaf of Vienna bread here from IGA, and it has wheat, wholemeal concentrate, gluten, and canola oil. And then on the other side, it says fat is 2.4 grams per 100 grams.
Good. So
And
that is underneath our 3 grams per 100 gram.
Yeah. Saturated fat, 0.5 grams.
Yes. So that's for fat if you see it in your label. Any questions for this slide? No? Okay. So for your carbohydrates, you can see there's actually two names. There's also carbohydrates, and underneath it, it says sugars. So sugars is actually a type of carbohydrate. But because with the labeling laws, we can't tell whether this sugar is come from natural source of sugar or added sugar. So that's why in general, we would recommend less than 10 grams per 100 gram in your product. So for example, in this canned 4 beans mix I have here, my sugar is 2.6 grams per 100 grams. So that means it's a good product in terms of sugar levels. But if your product, for example, is like a muesli or a cereal that contains fruit, we'd like to aim 25 grams, less than 25 grams per 100 gram.
I have all bran. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Okay, the all bran has 15.7 grams per 100. So first of all, I thought 15 was high, but if you say it's under 20, oh no, it doesn't contain fruit, does it? But is that okay?
So if your product has more than 10 grams per 100 gram,
yeah,
that's when the ingredients list comes very handy. You want to see whether that your ingredients list contains a added sugar in the first 3 ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So, Anne, do you have, why don't you read out what's in the ingredients list?
Bran is 85%, then it does say sugar, and then it says barley malt extract. I thought all bran would have no sugar.
Yeah, so there's actually added sugar in your all bran.
Oh, to give it some flavour. Okay. So that's not so good then. It's got good fibre though, 28 grams per 100.
Yeah.
So
maybe not a product you might use on a daily basis, but it's still good for other aspects of it, so like fibre content. All right, so anyone else want to share what they had for their carbohydrate or sugar?
The other, sorry, in comparison, I had porridge, Red Tractor Food oats, they're rolled oats. The fibre is really high. I can't find it now. The sugar is 1 gram per 100, so that's very low, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to your 12 grams in your all bran.
Yeah, the carbs is a total of 56.7 grams per 100.
Yeah.
But I mean, oats are meant to be good, aren't they? If they don't have additives.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just plain oats.
Yeah, so it's more maybe in the nutrition information panel, we want to be more wary of the sugars rather than the
Yeah,
carbohydrates.
sugars, 1 gram. Okay, that's good to know.
Right. So the next one we want to look at is sodium. Sodium is also known as salt. We want to aim for less than 120 milligrams per 100 gram. Otherwise, less than 400 milligrams per 100 gram is also good, but not the best.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
So for example, in this canned 4-bean mix I have here, mine says 15 milligrams per 100 gram. So this is well below the recommendation. So this is a really good product. But something I like to point out is the reason for that is my product actually says no added salt.
Oh.
So if you are able to look for your no added salt, salt reduced, or low salt labels, that means it's below 120 milligrams per 100 gram. If you do have more salt, more than 120 grams or 400 milligrams in your product, then you'd like to go into your ingredients list to look out for the things I have listed here. So your MSG, your meat and vegetable extract, baking powder, stock cubes. Those types of things are sources of fat, sources of salt.
Salt.
Yes, I'm looking here at tomato paste,
Yes.
and that has 313 milligrams of salt for every 100 grams.
Yeah.
Very high.
How about
And
your
this-
ingredients list?
Yes, ingredients list. You mean what's in it? Mainly tomatoes, but there's also thickener, sugar, roast garlic, salt, basil, food acid, etc.
Yeah,
So added salt.
that's right. You can still have a bit of sodium in your diet. So if a product does still have less than 400 milligram per 100 gram, it's still all right, but not the best option out there.
This beef stock has 448 milligrams per 100 milliliters.
That's a lot.
That's an awful lot.
Yeah.
But
And
then
with
you only
Campbell's-
use a little bit, don't you, of that? That's
Yes, but if you're making soup, I use this as a basis for soup. And you'd consume that soup over a couple of days, 2 or 3, 4 days.
Yeah. And with that particular Campbell brand or most stocks, there is salt reduced version. So next time you visit the supermarket, maybe have a look and compare the salt content.
Okay.
of the real stock. Okay.
Yeah. For example, I have my Massel one here. My one says 329 milligrams per 100 mil.
Right.
So it's a bit better in salt content compared to the Campbell one.
Yeah.
But this is
What is baking powder? What is baking powder made of?
baking powder is it's like the baking powder you add into baking.
Yeah.
It's a type of sodium.
Okay, because that's what listed. I didn't realize it had a lot of sodium because sometimes my daughter's vegan and she adds plain flour and it always says baking powder. Is that to give it flavour and to help it rise?
It's to rise it. It helps it rise.
So you do need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's one with less salt though, or sodium.
No, I don't think they would be.
No. Okay.
We have two and Hollands, I can see.
Oh,
Does
really?
does everybody have two?
That's fine. That's fine. I've just got it on 2 devices. I've got it on the big computer now.
It's just that there's a lot of echo. That's all. In the
Oh, I
sound.
just was worried. Okay. I was worried in case I turned one off, I would disconnect everything, but I'll give it a go. If I turn off the other one,
You
hopefully
can.
I'm still connected.
Oh.
So, Claire,
Pardon?
are you saying that baking soda is mainly salt?
It is a type of sodium. Yeah, salt. Yes.
Oh, sodium. Okay.
Claire, I have the Edgel's brown lentils here, and the salt content per 100 grams is 285 milligrams. So I just bought this to add to my spaghetti bolognese.
Yes.
You really would be better off buying the dried lentils and cooking them, wouldn't you? Because there's no additives, because you've got all the flavour in your spaghetti bolognese. You don't really need to have the added flavours.
Yeah, and
it's just
sometimes
quite a
those
lot.
products need it just to preserve it. But there are salt reduced versions, such as this one, the no added salt.
Okay, yeah.
But like you said, the dried ones might be a bit better as well.
To cut down on that salt. Yeah.
All right. So fiber. So if you have a product that contains fiber, it's not compulsory in all products. So because not everything contains fiber. For example, in my product here, my dietary fiber says 6.9 grams per 100 gram. And if you want to know whether a product is a good source of, has good sources of fiber, we want to aim more than 3 grams per serve, because with fiber, we're eating per serve. So we want to have it per serve rather than per 100 gram. For example, in my product here, it says 5.2 grams per serve. So
that would be something, for instance, in bread, in multigrain, you would look for something like that, would you?
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
And for kind of revisiting what we said last week, we generally need around 25 to 30 grams of fiber. So if your product contains more than 3 grams per serve, that means it's a really good source of fiber food to add to your daily requirements. But like I said, not everything will have a fiber section. For example, this yogurt tub I have, it wouldn't have fiber on it because it doesn't contain fiber.
Claire, on this Uncle Toby's quick oats,
Yes.
or the sachets, there's a whole lot of different fibers. There's dietary fiber, and then it's got soluble fiber, beta glucan, oats,
Yes.
and insoluble. So there's, I'm not sure whether, yeah. So is there any difference?
That's a very good question. So your product has gone an extra step to show you the details of what types of fiber it contains. So what we want to be more focused on is just the dietary fiber part. Mm-hmm. Soluble fiber is a type of fiber. It doesn't really contribute much in terms of comparing products, but it's good to know in terms of what type of fiber you're having in your diet. But if we're comparing products, you just need to focus on the dietary fiber.
Yes.
So if you're on a computer or have a phone, feel free to screenshot this. This is basically a summary, a pocket guide you can bring to your supermarket. Or if you've requested a physical copy of the resources, you would also have received this little card that would have come with it. That it's a little pocket card you can keep in your wallet. So Franco, did you have one stick on top of your?
Yes,
yeah, that's right. You can just pick it off. You can put it in your wallet.
Okay, I hadn't done that.
So this is a little pocket
Thank you,
card.
Robin. Thank you, Robin. Okay. Oh, lovely.
Or if you like to just receive this, I can also perhaps mail it out to you as well. You can arrange with Robin.
Claire, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I turned off the other iPad, so hopefully it's better now, Franco. With my All Bran, it's very high in dietary fibre, 28, which is higher, isn't it? And high in iron, but obviously the sugar, which I was surprised about, is not so good. The fat says 4.6 per 100, so that's just over the best, isn't it? Yeah. And the saturated fat is 0.9, so that's good. So it just varies. You might find this for quite a few things.
It's really finding the balance, and it's difficult to find a perfect product.
Right.
Obviously, rolled oats might be the best option out there because it's natural. There's no additives into it. But if your goal is to get enough fiber in your diet, the all bran would be a good option. But if your goal is to limit the amount of sugar in your diet, then maybe go for rolled oats instead.
Or just have it occasionally.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just mix and match. Okay.
Okay. So if you have a product that does say light or light, it does not really refer to the fat or energy content of the product. It can also refer to the color, the texture, and the taste of the product. So for example, on the slide on here, I have something called light and buttery waffles. It doesn't say that the waffle is actually lower in fat content. It's a taste. It's light and coffee. There's nothing else other than that. This is the same with light taste olive oil. It is still a type of olive oil at the end of the day, but it might be lighter in flavor because they've made it to taste that way. So just something to think about next time you go to the supermarket. Don't just pick up the product just because it says light. Go to the information panel because that's where all the secrets are.
What about the spuds there that say 25%? Is that a con too? Or I don't know, I'd have to look at the other side. I've seen those.
Yeah, so these ones, I'm not sure I can't remember if I've explained in the following slides, but when a product says it's 25% less carbs, it's comparing it to their usual product. So for example, if you have the normal spuds, it is 100% in carbohydrates, for example, as an example. This is 25% less carbs. Perhaps they might have put less ingredients to make the spuds, but it doesn't really indicate that it is healthier or it is lower in calories.
Okay. We have to spend our time. But at the moment, we're rushing around the supermarket, aren't we? But I think when you do an online order, you can actually click on the product.
That's right. Yeah.
What about the star ratings? Will we get to talk to that today? Because that light cream cheese says 2, I can see, whereas my oats say 5. So is that a true meaning by the health organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the star health rating, so this one that Anne's talking about,
4.5,
is a good indicator of if you don't have time to look through the information panel. It is not the best representation of what a product's nutritional quality is because it's based on a set of standards that a lot of manufacturers take advantage of. For example, Milo actually has a 4-star rating, but you think Milo would have a lot of added sugar. It's very sweet. It's considered more like a discretionary product. But the reason why it has a 4-star rating is because it's high in calcium. So it ticks the boxes for good nutrition. So it's always good to refer back to that table.
Most of that calcium, though, would come with milk that you add to it?
It does have milk powder in Milo. So that's why it's a good source of milk or calcium.
Okay.
But you wouldn't choose Milo for calcium. If you want to have calcium in your diet, you would not choose Milo.
Irene has a Milo right there.
I got the Milo here, but the only the free rating. Can you see it only here?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually a Milo bar.
Yeah. It's no good, right? Only free reading, not 4.
Yeah, so it's actually, you'll be thinking it's a chocolate bar, essentially. Why is it 3 out of 5? That would be actually considered quite healthy. It's because it has calcium in it. But in terms of sugar content, it's actually quite high. So
6.5 kilograms.
Yeah, so I don't think it's the best indicator of the health benefits of the product.
Oh, okay. I just take it as a snack,
Yeah.
I don't eat often, but just on special, I buy it.
All right.
Can I ask a question, please, about what you're referring to? When it comes to gluten-free bread, and I prefer to have things without the seeds, so I'd go for the white. And I've been going for the ones with the highest rating. But because of what you just pointed out, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the healthiest. So how can you tell which is the healthiest gluten-free bread? What things on that little box?
Yes,
You
so
go
I
by?
think you missed our label reading, but this
I'm
is
sorry, it's just that our Zoom here today coincided with Kerry Chant was still speaking, and I thought I'd be able
right.
to finish hearing her, but it was a very long time that they were
How
talking.
many
today.
cases today?
1019.
Oh my goodness me. Oh.
And they're
Oh,
saying
no.
we're
Worse
gonna
than
have
everybody.
Thank you,
restrictions
but
from
no
the
thank you.
15th of
Oh,
September. Why would we have restrictions to meet outside when there's still too many cases?
I don't know.
It's ridiculous.
Back to food.
Yeah, back to food.
Yes.
Healthy food.
Sorry about that.
Beverly, just to answer your question, for your bread, maybe aim for more than 3 grams per serve of fiber.
Right. Okay. Right.
So if you're able to screenshot this is a summary of our label reading session.
Oh no, I took it away. Sorry. Oh dear, I've lost it now. Can you hold it there for a minute?
Yes.
I'm not very good at this. Sorry. I'll thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Sorry about that.
So about reduced fat, similar to the light, when we talked about light products, you think about what is it reduced from. It does not necessarily mean the product is low in fat. It means the product is overall have a lower amount of fat compared to the original product. So for example, this feta cheese here, it has 25% lower fat compared to the original feta, but it doesn't mean it's low in fat.
Right.
And then in terms of organic products, they actually can be freely used for advertising, and it doesn't mean it's necessarily free of synthetic chemicals in their production. From a nutrition point of view, organic products and non-organic products are actually nutritionally the same. Similarly, no added sugar does not mean there is no sugar in the product. The product might be still high in sugar due to the naturally occurring sugars. So that's why I really stress understanding how to read that nutrition information panel. So I'm going to go into the main part of our talk right now, is the part of the tour. We're going to go through fresh produce, canned goods, packaged goods, and also frozen goods. So fresh produce, such as deli, meats, eggs, dairy, frozen goods, bakery, and breads are generally found, if you have noticed, found in the perimeter of the store. So not where the aisles are, but around the store. And then you have the themed aisles for like your packaged snacks, your cereals, and your pastas. So when we're talking about fruits and vegetables, kind of like this image here, we're walking straight into the supermarket. The first thing we see is your fruits and vegetables. One thing to be important is to ensure that you get a variety of colors. So when you do your vegetable and fruit shopping, ensure you get the range of the rainbow. When in vegetables, there's actually 2 main categories, your starchy vegetables and your non-starchy vegetables. So what I mean by starchy vegetables, it's like your high carbohydrate foods. So your corn, your peas, the parsnips, potatoes, butternut squash, sweet potato, beans and lentils, those are considered starchy vegetables. And in order to get food that have the best nutritional quality, I would suggest to buy fruit and vegetables that are in season. They're generally more flavorsome, and they're also picked at peak harvest. So nutritionally, they're a bit better as well, and they're also a bit cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know what other people know, of course, but it seems to me we've lost a bit of knowledge about what's in season, what's not. I don't necessarily always remember because of obviously freezing and conserving food and preserving and stuff. So yes.
I think that what they have on special or cheap is often what's in season. The IGA store near me has beans for $19.90 a kilo. So beans are obviously greatly in season.
That's right.
Buy a cauliflower for $2.
Yeah, so anything that's on special is often, like Beverly said, it's in season or
old.
Yeah, that's right. So for your meats, so meats is a good source of iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. Generally aim for your lean cuts of meats and pork. So look for example, mince, go for the lean version, or if you're going for chicken, for example, maybe go for the skinless option. Limit your deli and processed meats, so like your ham, your cold cuts, sausages, bacon, or any meats that has been smoked, salted, cured, or basically processed. A good tip is you can freeze meats. Some of us might do this already. If you want to limit your visits to the grocery shops, maybe you can freeze the meats and defrost it for later use. The nutritional quality kind of retains the same. If you're looking for a really easy protein or meat option to add to your day, the barbecue chicken that you can buy at charcoal, like charcoal chicken, or at Coles and Woolworths is actually a healthy option. As long as you remove the skin where you can, and also maybe avoid the filling. But the chicken itself is actually quite healthy because the way it has been made, it's been slowly roasted. Fish. So fish, like we're moving into the fish section, like in our image. It's a great source of protein, but also omega-3, so your healthy fats. When we talk about oily fish, we're talking about fresh or canned salmon, tuna, sardines, trout, barramundi, and also snapper. So those are the types of fish that's always good to have in your diet every week. Some species of fish that we need to be a bit more careful of because it contains a lot of mercury. It doesn't mean you have to avoid them, but just limit to maybe 1 serve a week or less frequently, is like your orange roughy, your swordfish, or your lingfish. So these are like the white fish that you often find in the supermarket. These ones actually contain quite a bit of mercury, which is not good for our health.
Orange roughy swordfish or what?
It contains mercury.
No, orange roughy swordfish or what?
Ling.
Ling. Oh.
Ling. Oh, ling.
Yeah, so maybe just once a week. It's preferred.
Thank you.
How about slapper? Slapper is good, right?
Yes, that's oily fish, so that's really good for your healthy fats.
How about the flathead? Flathead.
Flathead is all right. Yeah.
Okay.
What about the basa fillets? They're the cheap one. Is that not so good? Basa, B-A-S-A.
Those doesn't really contain omega. They're not oily fishes. They're just good sources of protein. But compared to like your oily fishes like salmon or snapper or barramundi, it doesn't contain as much healthy fats.
Is it okay to have tuna in a tin?
Yep.
There's not mercury in the tin, or
no.
Not nowadays. No. Okay.
What about mullet? That would be oily, wouldn't it? Mullet.
Sea mullet.
Like fresh?
Yes.
Yeah, mullet is an oily fish.
It is. Okay, thank you.
It's just not marketed much because when you catch them, you have to bleed them first. So it's a bit tricky, but it is an oily fish.
Thank you.
Claire, what about seafood?
Is that a fisherman talking or a fisherwoman?
A long time ago.
Yes, Suzanne?
Seafood. What about shellfish?
They're a great source of protein, but if we're talking about omega-3, it doesn't contain that. It contains zinc though. So
and when it comes from, is that not an important factor to consider? Because where it's fish, the water in which they live is of concern. Quite often we see don't buy oysters, for example, and
Yeah,
things
like your
that.
farmed versus your wild. Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry?
Your farmed versus your wild seafood?
No, coming from Vietnam or from the China Sea, for example, compared to our own waters.
Yeah, nutritionally, it's not very significantly different.
No, I know.
From a kind of an environmental point of view, I always recommend to go for locally sourced.
Okay, it's mostly the polluted water that could be of influence in looking at the source. Where is it coming from? So I think that would be an important thing for me to consider, that where does the shellfish come from?
Yeah, that's a good considerations as well.
Claire.
Yes.
Yeah. Regarding the sardine, is there any the nutrition point? Is there any difference between the canned one and the fresh one? Because I show you, I usually buy this, in the can for breakfast for sandwich. Is it okay?
Yes, they're equally as healthy.
You can see it, right?
Yes, I can see. Yeah. So for eggs, there's actually no nutritional difference between cage-free or organic. It's more like an ethical or environmental consideration that comes to it, depending on which one you choose. Current guidelines says there is no limits in the number of eggs you should have in a week unless you're on a medical diet. So this is more related to if you have diabetes, heart disease, or a diet that requires special attention. But in general, if you don't have those medical issues, there's no limit in the amount of eggs you should have.
How about regarding the cholesterol? Is it some people I was told that don't eat the egg yolk or don't eat the egg white?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So recent research suggests that dietary cholesterol doesn't actually affect your blood cholesterol levels. It's more the number of fats. So like your saturated fats, those are the things that affects your cholesterol levels.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
And there was some research years ago, and maybe 30 years ago, I can't remember now, that showed that you need the white, was it the white of the egg to digest the yolk of the egg? In combination, they cancelled out any cholesterol that your body.
Yeah, so dietary cholesterol, like your eggs, is not actually going to impact your blood cholesterol.
Okay,
right.
great. Yeah.
I can have my assistant here. This is Beverly, my assistant.
Sorry.
So dairy, full fat can be equal as healthy. So the recent, the Heart Foundation guidelines suggest that full fat milk can be equally as healthy unless you're on a medical diet again. But for general healthy eating, full fat milk can be equally as healthy. If you want to buy some what we call a UHT milk, so like your shelf stable milk, then nutritionally they're equally as healthy as fresh milk. For plant-based milks, generally look for unsweetened or fortified with calcium or vitamin D and B12. So like soy milk, your rice milks, your almond milks, go for unsweetened and fortified with calcium, vitamin D, and B12. And you can find this out in the nutrition information panel and also the ingredients list.
Vitamin D, B12,
and calcium.
And calcium.
So for yogurt, it's a great source of probiotics, maybe a term you've heard of before, which is beneficial towards your gut health. Overall, we want to aim for a low-fat variety with no added sugar and aim less than 15 grams per 100 grams. And for cheese, generally I say go for your reduced fat alternative, just because dairy products are a type of animal product and they naturally contain a bit of saturated fat.
I don't think they have a lactose-free low-fat one. I haven't found one. And
So cheese is naturally low in lactose. So if you're lactose intolerant, things like cheddar cheese or your Parmesan, those ones are low in lactose.
I'm talking about low fat in the I actually used to get the Liddell's Colby because it had no preservatives, lactose free. But I've never seen a low fat and lactose free one on the.
Are you allergic to dairy? Is that?
I'm intolerant to lactose.
Okay.
For years, dairy, but I can cope with a certain amount now.
Yeah. With lactose free, the difference is it has that lactase added to the cheese to help break down the lactose. But generally, cheddar cheese or like your hard cheeses is low enough lactose for people with lactose intolerance. It really depends though. So you can go for like a reduced fat cheddar cheese, for example.
Used to give me a really bad headache decades ago, like a migraine. And just wonder how you know about the chemicals. That's why I went for that Colby, Liddell's Colby, because it used to say no preservatives, but it doesn't say that now. Is there a cheese that has no preservatives that's a hard cheese? Half a dried apricot put me in hospital with asthma, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, I think going for rather than kind of those fresh cheese section, rather than your packaged cheese section, you're more likely to find a lower chemical or low preservative option.
Is that because you've got a sulfite allergy? Because dried apricots have sulfites, don't they?
Yes, amongst other
okay.
preservatives, yes.
So with bread, generally choose whole grain or wholemeal. But if you like rye or sourdough, they're generally good options as well. If you want to go for the extra step of having a bit more healthy fats in your diet, you can go for breads with nuts and seeds, so like a soy and linseed, for example. In Australia, most commercial breads are fortified with thiamine and also folic acid. And so these are very important micronutrients that generally the general population is lacking in. So it's great that in Australia we do have that option. So kind of touching base back to what Beverly might have mentioned, how to look for a good bread, aim for more than 3 grams of fiber per serve. So for cereals, something we kind of did do in our label reading activity is to look for any added sugar, added sodium, and how much fiber there is. So back to looking at the nutrition information panel. So good choices are like your plain oats, your bran, your wheat biscuits, and then add flavor by using fruit, fresh fruit, rather than going for a sweetened cereal or a cereal that contains dried fruit. If you're vegetarian or vegan, it also might be a good idea to look for products that have been fortified with iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. So an example could be like Wheat Bix, for example, that's fortified with iron. Soft drinks. So in the drink section, obviously we want to recommend to limit these added sugar drinks where possible. But if you do enjoy them, you can go for lower sugar or artificial sugar alternatives. But I think it's best to limit these in this group of drinks in general. For fruit and vegetable juices, they provide a lot of nutritional value. So like your vitamin C, for example, but they often contain high amounts of sugar. So for example, a glass of orange juice might be equivalent to 5 to 6 oranges, but you're not getting the fiber component of it if you're not having the pulp. So sometimes you might think about maybe it's better to have the piece of fruit than just drink a glass of juice. If you like the fizziness of the drinks, maybe go for soda water and then adding a bit of frozen fruit or mint to it just to add a bit of flavoring. So that's just a bit of, not food for thought, but drinks for thought if you enjoy the drink section. Canned goods, so kind of what I use my example here, there can be a very easy and quick option that you can keep in your pantry for the day. They have same nutritional content as fresh products, but more importantly, look out for those added sugar and added salt. If you like to have your stewed fruit or your tinned fruits, look for ones that are in juice rather than syrup, because that actually lowers the amount of sugar that is in the product. So if you have any canned fruit that you buy from the supermarket to leave in your pantry, go for it is soaked in natural juice rather than syrup.
Some cans don't seem to have a use-by date on them.
No.
Yeah, well, they're designed to last essentially for a very, very long time. The only thing that changes is perhaps the taste over time. Nutritional quality, it might remain very similar, but it's the taste that really changes. So if you want some really good canned products to keep in your pantry, some things like tinned fish, canned lentils, chickpeas, diced tomatoes, corn, mushrooms, and they can also come in handy, especially now we're recommended to stay home most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So with your rice, your pastas and noodles, generally go for your long grain rices like your basmati or your brown rice as the healthier alternative. So if you might have seen those microwavable rice, they're also a very good option to have to keep handy in your kitchen. Pasta, maybe exploring the wholemeal option or pulse pastas, so like your chickpea pastas if you want a bit of extra fiber. And for noodles, depending on the type of noodles you're having, if you're having things like egg noodles, maybe just look at the ingredients label to check out for any added preservatives or fats in them. Cooking oils and fat, which I'm going to answer Beverly's question, homework for me. So she was asking me about the macular degeneration and the association with oil and margarine. So this is actually, I wasn't aware of because I haven't seen this discussion, but it's more from quite a few years back. The way that margarine is made nowadays doesn't contain the trans fat, which is harmful to our health. So the ones now is quite safe to have. But in general, I do recommend to limit the amount of spread you're using anyway, because it is a type of fat at the end of the day. But if you want to use a type of healthy fat to cook in your use in your cooking, go for things like olive oil, macadamia, sunflower, or walnut oil.
Olive. What was that again? Olive
oil, sunflower, macadamia oil, and your walnut oil.
And which ones of those are good for heat?
So they're all your healthy fats. The reason why I suggested this is because their boiling point is very high compared to your vegetable oils.
All right.
Yeah.
How about avocado oil?
Yeah, avocado oil is also good.
And sesame oil, is that okay for a lot of Asian?
Sesame oil is not considered a healthy oil.
Oh, what's that? Too oily, too much of something.
Yeah, it's higher in what we call the unhealthy fats. Yeah.
Okay. Claire, just before we finish, do you have the slideshow that you email to us so that we don't need to keep taking photos, or is that something you can't do? Because I know you recorded.
I have this in summaries.
You can go on the website to you have a look at it.
Oh, the Four Seasons website, or
no, sorry, I'll cut in here. We do have the recording on the seniors event, so
sorry, on seniors what? Sorry, on the Ku-ring-gai
on the Ku-ring-gai seniors events, we've been putting the recordings on. So this one will go on as well. So I'll email it out.
Thank you,
yeah. No worries.
It's very useful, Robin. Thank you. It's a very useful review. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And just to, before we finish, your packaged foods, look for your saturated fats, your sugars, and also your sodium. So nuts are a great snack option. Roasted chickpeas, if you're a fan of those. Popcorn is a very good snack option. Your plain crackers, like your Vita or your Vita Wheats. Or go for the health food aisle, which is quite extensive in its range at the moment. That's also a good place to look for healthy snacks. If you like fruit-based snacks like muesli bars, dried fruit, or granola, just make sure you look out for added sugars. So back in the ingredients label.
Yeah.
Just another very last thing, frozen products. Frozen seafood is actually very good to keep in your freezer if you enjoy those. Frozen fruit and vegetables have as much nutrition as fresh ones, so feel free to keep those in your freezer to keep handy. And if you are interested in going more vegetarian-based products, the plant-based or the vegetarian meats is actually a good alternative as well. So like, for example, your lentil patties and lentil burger patties, those types of things are found in the frozen section.
Could I ask a question about what do you think about when's the best time to have your big meal, like in the middle of the day or in the evening, and your lighter meal?
Yeah. Am I able to get to that at the very end, Beverly, if that's okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So just a bit of shopping tips. Plan first. Write a list before you head to the supermarket. It's okay to buy your generic brands. So like your breads, your pastas, and your milk. Stick to the perimeter of the store is what I would recommend. Make sure you get most of your products from the perimeter and only go into the aisles if you need to. Limit products that might have...
Why is that to stick to the perimeter and not go to the aisles?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the perimeter is where all the whole foods or products that have the least amount of processing and packaging or added ingredients to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So limit food that might have inflated costs because of the food fads. So I don't know, going gluten-free unnecessarily or going dairy-free when a product is naturally gluten-free or dairy-free. Avoid those products. It's just for marketing. Buy fruit and veg that's in season, or go for grocer or farmer's market, and also consider buying frozen and tinned fruit and vegetables. If you're doing online shopping, taking the similar tips as I would in the previous slide, stick to the perimeter of the store. So imagine you're walking in the supermarket and sticking to the perimeter. Set yourself a budget. It's very easy to get too excited and click on things when you're online supermarket shopping. So set yourself a budget, similar to perhaps what you might spend physically at the supermarket. Like kind of what Anne might have mentioned, there is that ingredients label you can look at when you do online shopping. Avoid shopping when you're hungry, and check for specials as well, because those specials often suggest that the product is in season and have a higher nutrition quality as well. So recently we do have a bit of a shout out. We recently opened up a Facebook group where we have just trying to kind of inspire people to have a better healthy choices and smart choices. So if you do have Facebook, feel free to join us in this group. My team will be on there to answer any questions, but also to share any recipes or supermarket items, and we can get kind of a healthy community going. So feel free to join us. You can either go onto our Facebook page to find the link, or just Google, go to Facebook and search for Let's Get Healthy, and then you'll find our page.
So no need to send a link from you. Every time we just go there, right?
Yeah, that's right. I can also get your email links from Robin, and I'm happy to send out this link to your emails as well.
Yeah, please.
So how do we join? Do we just go like, or do we go? Yeah.
Just click join.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
See, yeah.
Just so I can to support you after all these programs as well, just so we can inspire everybody to eat a bit more healthy and smarter choices. So this really wraps up our supermarket tour today. I hope we learned a lot about our label reading as well as things to be wary of. To answer Beverly's question, she was wondering when we should have our big meal of the day. It doesn't really matter, but if you feel like in the evening time, you're not moving around as much afterwards, you're not going around doing house chores, it might be better to have the bigger meal at lunchtime because you're expending a bit more energy in the afternoon. And then having a lighter meal can also help with sleeping a bit better and not feeling too full.
Thank you.
So yes.
Could I just ask before we close, do you have any alternative for soy sauce? I've been put on a low salt diet, and even the reduced salt one is very high. Just wondering if there is an alternative for it.
So you're already choosing a salt reduced option?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, soy sauce is a high salt sauce.
Yeah.
I guess the only way around it is you diluting it yourself with water to even lower amount the salt. But yeah, soy sauce is a naturally high sodium product.
Right.
It's there won't be any product out there that's going to be even lower than the recommendations.
It was hard even to find the reduced salt one this time.
Yeah, that's right.
So I got 2 bottles just in case. Thank you.
So next week, we're going to go into wrapping everything that we've learned in the last 3 weeks in how to make quick and healthy meals. I will also do a bit of a cooking with you kind of session where we will do some corn fritters and avocado salsa. I don't know if you would like to cook with me or just watch me cook, feel free to join me. But the recipe would be in the information pack. The cooking demonstration will be where I will kind of go through the nutritional aspects of this recipe and a bit of wrapping up of what we learned. So looking forward to seeing everyone join us next week again. But like previous sessions, if you have any questions, feel free to email Robin or join that Facebook group that we've created. But any other questions too before we end today?
Thank you very much to you and Robin. It's been wonderful.
That was excellent. Claire, I've just seen your Facebook, but to join it, I'm confused as to which one is your dietitian one, because it comes up with 4 seasons with a picture in the garden, but I don't think that's you. So it might be handy to know which one is the correct one to join.
I think I have your email, Anne, so yes, I can email it to you.
I thought you probably can't see because I'm not on gallery. Yeah.
And can I have the email address as well?
Yeah, I've just got like 4 seasons and there's different ones coming up, so I don't want to join the wrong one.
Yes, that's all right. I can share the link to everyone.
Yeah, I'll send Claire your email addresses if you're happy for me to do that.
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah,
thank you,
I'll do
Claire.
that then.
See you next week.
We'll see you all next week. Yes.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Claire.
One more question.
Yeah. Where could I get a copy? I haven't yet received the
printed one. Yeah.
I've got the first ones, but I haven't got any more. So, last week you'd sent a email that the pictures were on it.
I sent it with an attachment. Yeah. So that had the introduction pack, introductory pack.
Right back at the beginning.
I'll send it to you again, okay? That's fine.
Oh, thank you.
So I think I had you on a list. I need to go and run the screen to get them. I haven't been into the. So I'm actually not in Sydney, but at the moment. So my colleague has been going in, but very rarely. So she sent one batch. I'll check whether yours went out with that one.
Thank you. Either, Robin.
You haven't yet? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd
All
like
right.
if you don't mind. It's
Sure.
very good. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So I'll see
Okay.
you all next week.
Yes.
All right. Well,
very
thank
much.
you. Thanks, Claire.
Thank
That was
you.
almost like being there, really. It was like.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Robin and Claire.
Yeah. It was
See you
good.
next week.
Yeah.
All the
Okay.
I'll leave.